That's funny. A minute. In a minute, it'll all come together. It's going to be more than a minute. But hey, you learn. See, you're just sitting there. This is like a classroom setting, right? You go to ROP, you watch the teacher show you how to do something. You're just sitting there watching them. Why not do that on my videos? I show you all kinds of stuff. Okay? Alright. I gotta that back. You know the drill by now if you've been watching and you're studious. You'll know exactly what I'm going to do next. You're so smart. You know what? That one's so close to that other screw head. I'm going to lower it just a hair. Get in there and whack on these nails, screws, wherever they are. On interior doors, you don't have to do that because they normally install those with finish nails from a finish nailer, okay? So if they do start showing, if you have to suck it in that far, you can still tap the nail flush after. Ooh. I'm going to try the top. I'm using 3-inch. I might be able to get by with 2.5s. Trying to get my shoulder power right there. Oops. I'm a little close to the screw that goes into the hinge. I want to make sure my head of this screw doesn't encroach into there, so I lowered this one a little bit. That's right. Eventually, I'm going to have to get a new tip. Lots of times that will mark up your screw heads. Other times, after you look at it, you find out, ooh, I need to get a new tip. And that's what I like about this. You can replace the tips. Still got the 3-inch screw in here. Let's see. As long as I have that flush. Gotta do that one last little oomph to see if I can't get it in there. Okay, I got it flush. I got her. Okay, that's going to go right back in there. I can't get that one any better. I've done the best I can. That looks, well, sometimes you think, I can get that in, but if it's hitting, see, it just was hitting the bottom edge just a little bit. And if your hinge is not tight all the way, this one looks pretty close, but if it wasn't, you would pick the hole that is closest to the edge of the hole here in the hinge, and then you know that's going to suck it over just a hair. And that's this hinge screw, and that pulled this over just a minuscule. I wouldn't have been able to do that had I put that in that top screw hole. You can't see that, that's why I'm explaining it. Now I can put it in these other two, because those would not have sucked it over. So sometimes, does it matter which screw to put in first? Yes. Yes, it does. By Joe. So I got just a little bit of a turn there. I'd rather do that than sink those in with my drill. Okay? Because then I have a tendency, of not knowing, okay, did I do it enough? Did I do it enough? Did I do it enough? Oh, oops, I did it too far. Then you're screwed. You lose your holding power. I don't want to lose my holding power of any of these hinge screws, specifically for the reason that this is a 8-foot tall door. It's a solid core door. There's a lot of weight there wanting to pull this door to make it sag, okay? If I had one screw that was loose down low, can you see that if this door is ever going to do anything, it's going to sag down from the top hinges this way. You've got more weight kind of put down here, but you're never going to get the door to pull away at the bottom because of one loose screw down here. Does that make sense? Okay, let's take a look at this. I got about the same gap here. It didn't really do much at all. I didn't think it would, but I thought I would give it the go. Okay, so now I'm going to work on that hinge. What am I going to do with that? Well, stick around and I'll explain that to you in a minute. Okay, I hope you're still watching this video because I got more to say. Whenever I have something to say, you might learn something. It might save you some money. Okay, even if I were to replace these hinges, these self-closing hinges, if I can't get this thing to work, they're not going to be any different locations than where they are. So I know that the door is going to sit exactly like this, right? So I still am going to have to do this work. Well, when I look at this door, I don't even have a level out or anything. It doesn't really matter at this point. You look and see what you can do with the existing conditions. When I look down here, I check out this door, the groove, I got a bigger gap from there up. See that nice big gap along the edge of the door? In fact, it's too big. That's why if I have to mortise that out, I will. But I might not have to mortise it out hardly anything once I fix this bottom hinge. Because this bottom hinge, there's no gap. If there was a whole lot of gap here, I wouldn't do anything with this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to flop that hinge back just like I did before. I'm not going to put any screws in there. That's not going to do anything. If anything, it's going to suck the door to the left. I want it to go to the right, don't I? So I've got to take this hinge and I got to bring it out at a slight angle, and that's going to help push the door over. I got a big gap here that it can go over. That's going to create me a gap here. Now, how am I going to do that? I used to do it a certain way where I take the hinge, fold it back, loosen up the screws, put a little piece of metal in there, tap it in there with a screwdriver, hold my mouth just right. I can't really do that with a self-closing hinge because it's so big. I can't get anything back in there. So I thought of this and I thought of this. I haven't done this before, but I'm going to do this a different way today, and I know it's going to work. Okay? So the next step is getting you set up so you can watch this. And I'm going to take those screws out down there. Okay, I think I'm going to keep it right like this. See, the beauty of a tripod. Now I got my tripod out here. I push the legs all up. I've got it all nicely set up because I want you to see what I see and being close down in there. Still shaking your head like, what is he going to do? Grab your bag of popcorn, get your Coke out, your Diet Coke out, and put your feet up on the couch and relax. Your movie has now begun. Remember, I took the spring tension off of this hinge already. So right now, virtually, this hinge is acting like no other hinge, no different hinge than a standard hinge because I took the spring-loaded action off it. Okay, now I gotta wiggle this out of here. There's a lot of weight on the door. There, see, I pulled away at the door at the bottom. I think you can see that, yeah. I just kind of pulled a little bit. There. Okay, now, what am I going to do? Well, to get that out at an angle, I'm going to put 2 screws, but I'm going to let them stick out. And this thing's, I see where it flaps down. I'm going to put one about there and one about there. Okay? So, maybe about there. Kind of towards the outside edge, but not so close to where it's gonna rip the wood out, split the wood, whatever. I'm not gonna put the screw in until I pre-drill it. So I'm gonna find my smaller drill bit. I don't even know what size drill bit this is. It's not the 8, it's a small one. Smallest one, because I'm going to put a couple screws in here. See, I can just use regular screws like that. And I'm going to let the head stick out of the wood. And then I'm going to adjust it in or out. Okay? Ah, hey, Joe. Never would have thought of that one. I give you kudos for that. Jeez. I'm so glad I watched the rest of this video, Joe. Thank you so much. Okay. Boy. I don't want to rub the side of that, do I? And there's no way I'm taking this door down. I can get it. I'll need a little bit. Yeah, now I'm kind of sticking it in at a slight angle, aren't I? It's okay. I've got it at just a little bit of an angle so I could get that in there. Yeah. And to think, all of the doors that I ever had to push over a hinge, I used to cut metal and kind of wedge that in there with a screwdriver. But as I explained, I can't do that with the self-closing hinge. And next time I need to do one, I'm going to do it the same way. From now on, no more metal strips of wood or strips of metal in there. You see what I'm doing? Let me get that. I don't have to sink it into the wood, but I want it enough so that when I put this in here, it angles. That's why I have to put them on the outside. I can't put it over here because I don't want to raise that. In fact, maybe I think it's good. I think it's good enough. But see, now I can take that. And you'd be surprised how much this lifts it out. Even if I have it snug, it's still stuck out 1/16. And shall we try it that way first? I think overall, I'm gonna have to have it out a little bit further, but a 1/16 actually from down here to here as it comes out, it's actually gonna be more than a 1/16 of a gap over here away from the wall, okay? So let's just leave it. I'm gonna leave it right there. If we have to do anything to it, I can pull it back out, right? Okay, now I gotta kind of pull the door back there to get that in, like that. Put the screws in. So I know these 2 screws are gonna go in tight, don't I? But the next 2 screws, obviously, I'm just gonna make snug to the outside, but they're not gonna go in as far. Can you see that the hinge is now kind of pooched out at an angle? It's pooched out at an angle, all right. I think you can see that. I don't think I've got it out enough, but you can see it doesn't take me much to move it out any further. Let's take a look inside Let's take a look inside and see what we've got. Let's take a look here, shall we? Goodness gracious. I'm not turning off the camera. Now, see our gaps? Look how nice that gap is. Look at that. See, we're away from here. You see how we're away? The hinge is away from that. Just that much. I've created that. I think it's perfect. There, look it over here. If anything, I've almost gone too far. That's a nice gap though. And in fact, it's never going to get any closer than that, because if anything, this door after time is going to sag, isn't it? No matter what I do, because it's such a heavy door, it's going to sag. Now, look at over here. We look, believe it or not, that gap is smaller now. It's not as big up at the top. Now it's still kind of big right there, but I don't, there's nothing I can really do about that. And with me pushing over the bottom of the door over here, we know that this gap at the top, I haven't shown you yet, it should be bigger now. Look at that. Look at that. That is perfect. I love it. So just by doing that, Joe, you fixed the door just by that? Well, you saw the other stuff we did. Now, see, I did not notch the door yet. And now I do not have to notch it, do I? So I'm glad I started down at the bottom. But if at all costs, at this point, if you have to do more, and if you think the only way you can fix this now, going through everything we did because of self-closing hinge here, because it's an exterior door, because of this, blah, 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 and everything I've told you already, you could mortise that by 1/16 of an inch with a nice chisel. And I had gotten my chisel. Where is it? Oh, here it is. A nice sharp chisel right there. Looks like I hit it one time, but I should be more careful where I put it. I normally, like I say, usually I keep a 1/4 inch chisel with me at all times, and I always have to sharpen it and stuff. I should not carry this with me because I don't, if you lose your edge or gouge or something, you just mess up what you're trying to save. So I note to self, when I get done, I'm gonna put this with my other chisels. I'm not even gonna put that in my nail bag anymore. Because just by hitting certain things in here and pushing down, I can whack that sharp edge there, okay? So, if anything, this, I could have almost tightened up those screws a little bit more. Let's take another look at that. Let's take another look, shall we? I didn't really want to dig those screws in any further, and I have a feeling that I'm okay. If anything, see, I'm just going to tighten those up just a hair without them stripping. Just that little bit had helped push that a little, okay? These are already tight. Oh, okay, there. Okay. That's still coming out of an angle. Believe it or not, that little bit of an angle moves the door that much. Yeah. So, we'll look at this one more time. That gap's fine. I'm going to leave. Geez, I wish that was just a hair bigger down there. You know what? All right, I do want it just a hair bigger, darn it. I think over time the door would settle, but because I'm right here, let's just do this one more little bit. I'm going to take those screws and tighten them just a smidge closer. as I do. Okay. There. Okay. Let's just see here. Just gonna tighten it up a little bit. It's not gonna go, I don't want it flush with the wood, obviously. Then I defeat my purpose, right? Just that little bit, that's it. Now see, had I need more, I'd just unscrew it further at this point, but I wanted it to go just back, and you would think, that's all you had to do? I moved that door quite a bit, didn't I? From its initial location where it was rubbing down at the bottom. I had that in reverse. That's why you have to get a metal or a magnet on your tip for these. I've had an extension before where it wasn't magnetic. You put that in there and then you lift it up there and get ready and ka-plunk, ka-plunk. I thought, phooey on that. Why on earth would they make any of these non-magnetic? It's beyond me. Okay, now I can just snug those up. Okay, and that's moved it. We'll see, I'll show you, don't worry. Don't worry about a thing, sweet baby. Okay. Get you right down in here. Okay, see my gap? That's just barely a little bit bigger. We still got a nice gap there, look at that. You play this back to the beginning, you'll see that I was tight right there. Let's lifted this door up, kaboom. I've got extra screws in that one to keep that, preventing it from sagging anymore for the next 5 or 6 years. I've got screws on that one to prevent it, to hold the top as well as the bottom or that next hinge from letting this door sag. Solid core door and everything. I've got a nicer gap here. I like to see a gap about like that because here's the thing. If you add it any closer and you say, oh, that's perfect, over time, if your door does sag, this door will sag eventually. Mark my words, no matter what, it will sag eventually. But eventually might mean it only sags a 1/16 of an inch. And it won't hit, will it? It'll still have enough room to open and close and not rub and not have a problem. Not have a problem with the security alarm, the weather stripping outside, the door, the spring-loaded hinges from closing all the way, the latch from hitting properly. And see, I raised that door, and that still fits. This still fits. Okay? But look, it's hitting right there now. You know why? Because it's probably hitting the top edge of that wood right there. See? It's hitting that now because I've raised it up a little bit. And see this? Here's a regular strike plate. Here's a regular strike plate with no tab. Remember I told you they had some without tabs? You don't put a strike plate where there's a deadbolt, people. These strike plates are for your latches, for your door, not for your deadbolt. The deadbolt usually has a long strike plate here. And there's different ones. Exterior ones are taller, and they might have a couple inside screws to where you put a big fat screw into it that goes into your 2x4. Then they have other strike plates that are just little, that are 3/4 of an inch long screws in it, and it's just screwed to your door jamb. You have something like that, when somebody comes in from outside and they kick on your door, all that happens is this 3/4 inch piece of pine wood right here splits. And they have to kick it a couple times because maybe your door trim, your casing might flex a little bit before it finally lets loose enough to allow them to get in your door, okay? So if you do want a strike plate, that's what I would recommend, one of those bigger ones. They don't have that here, and they put this type of strike. Now if you take that out and put the regular one in, this is all mortise. From here over, there's no wood there now. So, food for thought. I'm not going to do anything with it, but you know, I am going to have to fix this deadbolt, and that was on a separate thing anyways, because the deadbolt wasn't going in all the way. It was hitting the back of this wood. It needs to go in further, because as you close it right to there, that's where it was before, you remember? If it's like that, I can open it every single time. 100 times, I can open it. You go far enough over, that allows this to go all the way through, and now I can't move it, see? Now your deadbolt is a deadbolt. Your deadbolt right here is not working. It's a piece of you know what type of deadbolt that's not doing anything. I don't care how strong of a key it is, how strong of a cylinder it is. If this side latch does not engage, click. It doesn't engage right there where it was before. That's not doing anything, okay? So anyways, watch for my video. All I'm going to do on that one is I'm going to drill that hole in further to make this work and re-explain it, you know, for somebody who's that's all they're doing is that, okay? But for this particular video, we're pretty much done, other than if you were listening at the first, I said if I move this door and if I can get it up there, that means the bottom edge of that door has moved up, right? Because it moved over this way, it tilted up. If this was a box and you lifted the box, right? It's moving over here further, and that raised the bottom of the door up. I haven't even looked underneath this door now. Remember before I did this, there was a small little gap of air. Now it's a little bit bigger, isn't it? Look how big it is now. And I said it was going to taper, didn't I? Look how far it tapers to about there. Okay, how did he know that was going to do that? How did Joe know that? Well, Joe knows. Video Joe knows. That's why my channel is called Video Joe Knows. Okay, so if you want to see how I'm going to fix that, I guess you're going to have to watch and look for that on my channel. This video is long enough, and actually, it is long enough. You're going to have to watch. I'm going to make a separate video on how to adjust a door bottom shoe and how to retighten up self-closing hinges, because you remember? Yeah, that's the part I'm dreading too. I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it to close all the way. I'm going to reuse my little pins, and I've got to tighten these back up before I call this door good, and I have to adjust that door shoe, okay? So my time has run out for this particular video. That's all I got for this time, but I'll be back with more, yes, more videos.